Coming up, we take a look at how Tzu Chi's first disaster survey and medical team help quake survivors in Nepal. We find out why domestic wastewater discharged into the rivers can harm both our body and the environment. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Helen Liao. Thank you for joining us. In the wake of the 7.8 magnitude earthquake in Nepal, Tzu Chi's first disaster survey and medical team, which consists of experienced Tzu Chi volunteers and doctors, traveled to the disaster-stricken country to offer their assistance. In our next report, we take a look at the team's efforts in helping quake survivors rebuild their lives.
Currently, we are providing services ranging from surgery and trauma to emergency care.
On the afternoon of April 28, Tzu Chi's first disaster survey and medical team arrived in Nepal with boxes of much-needed medical supplies. The team's mission is to offer medical care and relief aid. Upon their arrival in Nepal, doctors immediately traveled to the disaster area to check on the injured. On April 29, Tzu Chi's first disaster survey and medical team visited medical authorities in Bakhta Port to apply for practice permits. On April 30th, the team organized its first free clinic in Nepal. On May 1st, 2 free clinic sites were set up. On May 2nd, the team collaborated with local doctors to successfully complete an orthopedic surgery.
You people from Taiwan helping to us is very good, and thank you. Thank you for your help.
On May 3rd, Tzu Chi's first disaster survey and medical team arrived at Pickle Village to offer medical care.
We're here to clean and redress survivors' wounds. We have also brought extra medication with us, because many have developed fever, cough, or headaches.
Besides providing medical care, the team is also here to help quake survivors rebuild their lives.
Family name, right? Then how many adults?
Accompanied by local residents, Tzu Chi volunteers traveled to the disaster zone. Due to the tremor, homes here have turned to rubble. On April 29, Tzu Chi's first disaster survey and medical team traveled to Bakhta Port to conduct a disaster assessment. On April 30th, the team visited hard-hit areas in Kavri to help quake victims rebuild their lives. On May 1st, Tzu Chi volunteers established a casual program in Bakhta Port. The volunteers hoped to encourage more to join the cleanup effort. Thus, they decided to pay each casual participant 500 rupees a day. On May 3rd, a soup kitchen was established to provide hot meals for the quake survivors. By offering hot meals, the volunteers hope to recruit more residents to join their casual program.
If the program is successful, we can launch it in other disaster-stricken areas. We are seizing every moment to speed up the recovery effort.
Tzu Chi Foundation will also launch mid- and long-term reconstruction plans to help disaster survivors return their lives to normal as quickly as possible. Since Tzu Chi's first disaster survey and medical team arrived in Nepal on April 28, the medical personnel at the team have been visiting local hospitals to offer their assistance. Though not all hospitals welcome such visits at first, eventually they were touched by Tzu Chi doctors' professionalism and sincerity and decided to collaborate with Tzu Chi. In the quake-torn Nepal, Tzu Chi's medical volunteers are visiting hospitals after hospitals. The team hopes to offer their expertise to help those in need, and the volunteers' professionalism has won the approval of local hospitals. With the medical equipment and supplies they brought from Taiwan, the Taiwan doctors help their local counterparts in patching up patients suffering fractures.
To be able to help perform a surgery in another country is already a big challenge, and it's even more difficult in a country with no diplomatic ties with Taiwan. But we can see the enthusiasm and sincerity in their invitation.
Not just providing help in the orthopedic department, Tzu Chi's doctors also help a cancer hospital with one of its surgeries. The doctors from both countries are united by their desire to cure the sick of their illness. Superintendent Niu Pani, who studied medicine in China, insisted on conveying his gratitude in Chinese.
To be able to perform an operation in an unfamiliar environment, you show you were quick to adapt to the situation. People in Nepal timely received your assistance. I believe they are very fortunate.
The Tzu Chi team not only set an important milestone in Nepal, but also established trust on both sides, which helped pave the way for more aid programs to come. As the Tzu Chi Foundation does not have a branch office in Nepal, it has been a challenge for Tzu Chi's disaster survey and medical team to get the lay of the land. Fortunately, with the assistance of Bhaktapur City Mayor, Tzu Chi's team was able to gain access to the disaster site.
1 week following the earthquake, many areas in Bhaktapur city are still without running water or electricity. One alternative has been to pump water from underground wells, while other areas have been getting their water from a water truck. As it is currently the dry season in Nepal, the fluctuation between day and night temperatures has further added to the misery of quake survivors living in tents. Due to the extensive damage of the earthquake, relief and rescue efforts have been progressing slowly. Unfamiliar with the lay of the land and without a local branch office in Nepal, Tzu Chi's disaster survey and medical team has had to rely on local help. With the assistance of the mayor of Bhaktapur city, Prem Suwal, Tzu Chi volunteers gained access to the disaster site. This affinity arose from a meeting on April 2nd with the local government, during which volunteers got to meet with the mayor. Inspired by the organization, the mayor decided to provide details of all affected households and even personally led volunteers into Bhaktapur to survey the hard-hit areas.
We ran outside when the earthquake struck. We are staying with our relatives now, and I came back to see if I could salvage whatever is still usable.
During their visit, volunteers also came across a grocery store owner, Maya, who closed her store to take care of her neighbors.
Since the earthquake, I haven't opened my store for business. Instead, I have offered my shop as a shelter for nearby residents. They can come and stay here.
Limited in number, Tzu Chi's disaster survey team are in need of extra pairs of hands to assist them with the ins and outs of the distribution. Hence, volunteers recruited young men to help out with relief efforts through a Cash for Work program. This collaborative effort to help fellow Nepalese will surely blossom into a fruitful and long-lasting friendship.
10 days after a massive earthquake struck Nepal, thousands of survivors are stuck in overcrowded tents as conditions are likely to worsen with the upcoming monsoon season. Tzu Chi volunteers in Indonesia sent several large tents to Nepal to provide the survivors with a safer, cleaner shelter. But first, we take a look at the conditions and problems the quake survivors are currently facing in Bhaktapur city's tent communities.
Looking out to my left, we can see a range of colorful tarps. We're looking at one of the tent communities in Bhaktapur city.
Earthquake survivors in the tent area live like the homeless. They have to wait in line to get food and eat in the open. Without a proper dining area, quake survivors cook on a makeshift stove made with red bricks stacked together with firewood. The food provided by government and charity organizations has been left out in the open, causing the food to spoil easily, attracting flies. Ramita and her 7 family members are now living in this stuffy tent.
We have to live here now. Water we fetch from outside. Our food is provided by charity organizations and the government.
Shortage of water is another serious problem here. Plastic bottles are used and often thrown away, leading to a buildup of garbage, while those with reusable plastic containers have to make several trips to get enough water.
Only cooking and drinking purpose.
After losing their homes in the massive earthquake, survivors do not know how much longer they have to endure life in the makeshift encampments before they can get their lives back on track. Providing the quake survivors with better shelter. Tzu Chi volunteers and Cash for Work participants who work to set up new tents.
How many families can the new tent accommodate? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each tent can accommodate 6 families.
Each tent is 6 by 14 meters. This quake survivor and his family of 7 have been staying inside an unventilated tent for more than 10 days and were delighted to move into the larger, better ventilated tent.
The old tent leaks while this new one looks good. At least water no longer seeps in here.
Thank
you very much. We like this tent very much. It's bigger than the old one. Thank you very much.
Upon learning of the plight of quake survivors, Tzu Chi volunteers in Indonesia sent these 4 large tents to Bhaktapur city via Indonesian military aircraft.
We bought the tents in Indonesia. We have used them to store our rice during aid distributions.
As Nepal faces the upcoming rainy season at the end of May, the large tents will provide quake survivors with a secure and safe shelter against the elements until further relief arrives.
To the surprise of many, Taiwan's sewage coverage rate is just over 26%. In fact, most of the remote townships and settlements are without sewers and water treatment facilities, and therefore discharge their domestic wastewater right into the country's rivers. Unfortunately, this can lead to disastrous consequences. We find out more in our new series.
Illegal discharge of industrial wastewater into Taiwan's rivers has become a common occurrence. However, you and I may also unknowingly be responsible for another form of water pollution. Under normal circumstances, the Gaoping River supplies 1 million tons of water every day to Kaohsiung and Pingtung.
We come collect samples once a month and collect samples from 3 different locations. One is upstream of the Gaoping River, one is at the river's intake, and the last one is the sedimentation pool here.
For decades, the National Cheng Kung University has been contracted to monitor the river's water quality on behalf of the millions who drink from it.
First, we look at the sediment in the water. Most of the time, the concentration of E. coli bacteria is on the high side.
The river appears murky mostly because of the debris from the 8/8 floods. Besides the high concentration of sediments, there are also other abnormal findings. Though they can be removed by water processing plants, just where do they come from?
The presence of E. coli and the high biochemical oxygen demand, especially the latter, is evidence that domestic wastewater has made its way into the river.
The upstream section of the Gaoping River flows through Qishan, Meinong, and Liugui, which are all without sewers, and thus domestic wastewater is discharged into ditches, which then eventually flows into the river. Currently, Taiwan's sewage coverage is just over 26%. According to the EPA, 4.5% of the country's rivers are seriously polluted, and 23.4% are moderately polluted, with domestic wastewater being one of the main culprits.
Domestic wastewater is responsible for about 20 to 60% of the pollution we find in rivers.
Critically, domestic wastewater contains unused medication. Though its concentration is diluted by rivers and water treatment plants and thus possess less threat to human health, they are a direct threat to organisms living in the rivers.
These man-made chemicals found in medication are alien to the microorganisms, germs, and algae living in the rivers, which plays a vital role in keeping our air clean. They help absorb the carbon dioxide in the air and probably do a better job at this than plants on land.
To their surprise, researchers discovered that the discarded medication interferes with the circulation of carbon, nitrogen, and other elements in the air.
我们现有测试过，有看到了，比如说像安非他命啦、吗啡啦，这些其实都会影响到我们。
In our experiments, we found that amphetamine and morphine can affect and suppress the water organism's ability to process the nitrogen and carbon in the air, which will indirectly or directly affect the carbon dioxide concentration in our atmosphere and therefore our climate as well.
And thus, domestic wastewater not only pollutes our water but also contributes to global warming. If this is allowed to continue, the problem will only exacerbate.
Next, we meet young vegetarian Li Caini, who not only volunteers at the Jingsi Books and Cafe during her free time, but also inspire her friends to join her in donating their hair to make wigs for cancer patients.
确定？确定你会吗？哎呦，金色师傅的爱心在里面，味道不一样。
I was already a vegetarian when I was pregnant with Tzu Chi. She has been a vegetarian since birth.
One of my classmates did not know the difference between vegetarian products and non-vegetarian products and wanted to share his cookies with me. But when I looked at the ingredients, I told him that I couldn't eat it because it contains non-vegetarian products.
全家一起吃素，
对，健康也环保。
然后番茄再下去。
Tons of wheat are produced in a year just to raise cows. But if this wheat was used to feed people in Africa, we would be able to relieve tens of thousands of people from hunger. We shouldn't have to waste so many resources just because we want to eat something special. We can use the resources to save more people.
When she was 3, one time she went out with her grandma and saw a plate of shrimps on the table. She told her grandma innocently, "Grandma, the poor shrimps." She knew at the time that she's in fact a vegetarian. When I was participating in the sutra adoption, I often got tired, so I went to sleep before her. Later, I discovered that she had actually done the laundry for me and hung the clothes out to dry. I noticed she changed a lot.
During my second semester in 3rd grade, a Tzu Chi auntie told us that we can help out here, so I've been coming here. I stock the shelves and introduce products to customers. I have to memorize product prices or else I will not be able to answer customer inquiries. This has helped to train my memory and courage. The first time was on August 7th, 2 years ago. Then I did it again on February 28th this year. I invited 3 young volunteers to join me this time to support the good cause. I will continue because a volunteer said my hair is healthy and makes a good wig. It can be donated to many cancer patients. My hair will grow again, but cancer patients don't have hair. By donating my hair, I can help them grow in confidence.
In Nepal, Tzu Chi's disaster survey and medical team continues to help quake survivors to the best of their ability. Besides helping with medical needs, a team of volunteers reach out to residents living in tents in need of emotional support. Here's more.
Here in Nepal, 16-year-old Benita has been traumatized by the recent earthquake that left her injured and her mother dead.
Benita, how old are you? 16?
She really has nothing left, and I don't know how to provide for her either, as we're not able to purchase anything here.
After offering relief supplies to Benita, Tzu Chi volunteers rounded up her neighbors to cheer her on. Warmed by everyone's effort, Benita then gives a small smile to thank everyone. Returning to their past residence, Benita's uncle shows the DaAi reporters where their home used to stand. There, reporters find Benita's brother searching through the debris for anything salvageable.
The earthquake destroyed my home. I'm currently looking for anything that I can still use. That belongs to us.
Covered in dust from head to toe, Benita's brother, who is not yet 20, has had to take on more responsibility than before, now that both his parents are gone.
Currently, it is about 10 in the morning here in Kathmandu. The temperature is about 20-some degrees Celsius. However, underneath the tent, the temperature is much higher. The tarp is extremely hot to the touch. Living conditions in the tent are very basic.
The shock of the massive earthquake still lingers in the hearts of those who survived it. Tzu Chi is not only here in Nepal to offer much-needed disaster relief and medical aid, but also to let these survivors know that they are not alone.
People come here to do the relief. We are always with everybody here.
No matter how long the road to recovery may be, Tzu Chi volunteers will do their best to help these residents rebuild their lives.
Among the doctors who joined the second Tzu Chi medical team to Nepal was Dr. Lin Chang-hong from the Taichung Tzu Chi Hospital. Though busy with 3 clinics and helping patients upon arrival, on May 3rd, Dr. Lin shared with the world his personal experience from Nepal.
Nepal lies in ruins due to a massive earthquake. In and around the quake-stricken area, rubble and debris are scattered as far as the eye can see. In times like this, some good news is well in need. On May 3rd, Nepal welcomed a pair of twins, with one weighing at 3,000 grams and the other at 2,900 grams. Originally, the mother was scheduled for a C-section, but the earthquake struck and delayed her surgery. Working with the local doctors to help deliver the babies was Taichung Tzu Chi Hospital's Dr. Lin Chang-hong. He's the director of Quality Management Center and also an anesthesiologist. Dr. Lin volunteered to join the second team of medical volunteers heading to Nepal, which departed from Taiwan on May 1st. Upon his arrival in Nepal, the team immediately set up to help patients in need. During his break time, Dr. Lin documented his experience in Nepal. He said the twins were past their due date, and because he was in Nepal, he had the privilege to help deliver these babies. In the aftermath of a major disaster, the welcoming of new life into this world always brings about a renewed sense of hope and joy. Indeed, looking at the smile on the twins' mother's face, it's evident that hope is fueling Nepal to rebuild.
To inspire children to safeguard the planet, Tzu Chi volunteers in Taishan District, New Taipei City, Taiwan, has been visiting the Tongrong Elementary School on a weekly basis. On their most recent visit, the volunteers not only saw recyclables with students, but also remind them the importance of cherishing resources through a skit. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Goodbye.